Hello wonderful people and welcome to my Dark Souls 3 playthrough. Dark Souls 3 has been out for 2 years, but there are still a ton to investigate in this game. There is no better format to do that than to actually play the whole game from A to Z, everything. We're gonna be playing the whole thing, the whole shebang, and we're gonna be playing it from a detective's point of view. So although we're gonna be focusing on gameplay a lot, we're gonna be also focusing a bit on the lore, although there's a lot of speculation there, but we can do that together. So, without further ado, let's begin our journey.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the Giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
Our character customization. I won't waste a lot of time here. Let's just put the name, PvPSkillz. Yeah, because that's me. And if you notice, we're playing on PC, that's why I'm typing. And I won't be going to any customization. The only thing I actually need is just changing the class and taking a gift. Now, the class selection doesn't make a lot of difference, in case you don't know. You can actually have everything at the end. But if you want to be optimized, actually, then yeah, there is a difference. Now, for us, we're going to be spellcasting mostly throughout the playthrough, almost exclusively. But we can change builds anytime we want. We have 5 times per playthrough. But since I want as high intelligence and faith I want, Pyromancer is the get-go here. It's the best one, and we will be focusing more on Pyromancy since it's earlier to get and all that, but we're gonna be casting the whole thing. The whole shebang, my friend, the whole shebang. So let's take the Pyromancer. The gifts here aren't as important as, let's say, Dark Souls 1. It's equivalent more to Dark Souls 2. They don't make that much of a difference, to be honest. But I'm gonna take the fire gem, this is the first time I'm gonna be doing that, but it caters to our build. I think it's gonna be a good choice. So yeah, I know that I can change, I want to make him look cool and all that, but we don't have time for this shit. Let's begin.
Seeker of fire, conqueror of dark. Do you intend to link the fire? Fire came to be, and with it, disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, light and dark. Shadow is not cast, but born of fire. And the brighter the flame, the deeper the shadow. Inherit fire and harness the dark. Such is the calling of a true leader.
Cemetery of Ash, the first area in Dark Souls 3, and it's a very important area, as the whole introduction is based actually in this area, the Cemetery of Ash. We can actually see the Lord of Cinder get up of their coffins in this area, and you can actually make out Firelink Shrine there in the introduction. And the introduction is basically the whole premise of the whole game, so it is the most important piece of lore you can get in the game. And we can actually see the coffin that we got up from. But the most important thing until this point, we haven't done nothing yet, but it's the introduction. It says a lot. It says that Lord of Cinder came back so they can link the flame, but only in truth the lords will abandon their thrones. They did not link the flame, so they went astray, and I wouldn't blame them, to be honest, because if you link the flame before, which the Lord of Cinders are that exactly, they are people who linked the flame before in the ancient past, and then you find out that nothing has changed, the fire is fading again, you say, screw that shit, man. I died for this, and now I got another shot. Why would I do that? Now, some of them got hollow, some of them got crazy, some of them got swallowed by the darkness, as we learn. But yeah, that's the premise of the story. And we, the unkindled one, rise after them not linking the flame. So we are the longest shot. We are the long shot here. We are the ones who have to bring the Lord of Cinders to their thrones. So that's what we're gonna be doing. And who decides which Lord of Cinder comes back, and who decides who Unkindled comes back? That's an open question, but there is a very, very interesting small detail in the introduction. You can actually see the soul of Cinder picking you up from a bonfire. So ash, we're basically ash, literally ash, So, and we grow up, we basically, every bonfire you see in the game has a lot of ash. And it shows you the bonfire, and then it shows you Soul of Cinder pulling a corpse. And at that point, the narrator is talking about us, saying, nameless, cursed, undead, not even fit to be Cinder. That part, yeah, you can actually see the Soul of Cinder, which is basically the last fucking boss in the game. It's actually pretty weird, although he's normal sized in the introduction. He's not as big as when you fight him. So we also have the starting items. Let's take a look at those, because if you want to be playing in a if you want to investigate everything, we should be reading step by step, because I think the story is told that way. So our most treasured item, Estus flask, the one we heal with, the undead treasure, these dull green flasks fill with Estus at bonfire and drink to restore HP. The journey of an undead has always traced the bonfires, and no journey of import has been made without an Estus flask. Now the other one, Ashen Estus Flask, the one that fills our MP or focus points in this game. Undead treasure, these dull ashen flasks fill with Estus at bonfire and drink to restore focus points. Quite befitting of an unkindled, and Ashen Estus Flask turns a bonfire's heat cold. This is a new thing, it wasn't in Dark Souls 2 or 1. I wonder the origin of this, what it is exactly. Now the Dark Sign, this is the item we have in all of the Dark Souls. The Dark Sign is the sign of an accursed undead. The Dark Sign returns its bearer to the last bonfire rested at, or the bonfire at Firelink Shrine, but at the cost of all souls held. This has been true throughout all the Dark Souls. This item has been there. Carriers of the Dark Sign are reborn after death and eventually lose their minds, turning hollow, and so it is, they are driven from their homelands. So it gives us the the premise why we keep dying and coming back. Although we're not a hollow in this game. In Dark Souls 1 and 2 we are a cursed undead, but in this game we unkindled ashen one, which is a totally different beast. We also had this picked up. These are just souls. I don't think it's important. This one, I don't want to read everything because that way we won't be ever playing. I just noticed. So let's take it step by step. I'll read this just in case. Okay, nothing important there. And we see this Lord Vessel thingy. This is, if you don't know, this thing is actually pretty important. You can see Dark Souls 1, you can see a broken one in Dark Souls 2. And also, if you look at this area, you can see all these coffins that are open. So you're not the only unkindled. I'm pretty sure the unkindled is basically a person who failed to link the flame. So I'm pretty sure they release as much as they can. Maybe these things that we're fighting are unkindled too, and we will definitely meet more equal unkindled in this game later on. Not like those guys. If they are unkindled, they look like hollow men. So yeah, this area is beautiful, to be honest. I really like it. It's a good tutorial area. Not as good as Dark Souls 2 when it comes to technicality, because you still have to read these messages. So for newcomers, I don't think it's as good, but it's pretty beautiful, man. Look at this. I really like it. The sun. Now there's this path over here. There's a very strong enemy, which in my first playthrough I killed here, and it took me ages because I am a stubborn person. But we're gonna be a bit smart and just keep him alive for now. And we'll come back soon enough. Let's go in our way. I remember when we saw this part, this is actually the first footage we saw of Dark Souls 3 in this area. And it was really, we were really curious to see what's the game's going to offer. You can see a castle on our right, a humongous castle on the cliff. Typical Dark Souls, impossible in architecture. Look how the drop, it's too fantasy, you know, this is just not doable, by the way, doing this on a mountain. But still, that's what makes this game unique. The aesthetics are just top notch, man. After playing so many games, nothing can top this and the series in general. So our first bonfire of the game, I think, gives us a gesture. Yes, rest. And yeah, I forgot to read the description on our weaponry. Now, since we're Pyromancer, we get this ring exclusively for this class, and it boosts pyromancies by, I think, 12%. So it's the weaker one. There are two rings that strengthen pyromancies. Let's read what it says. Ring said to be chiseled from the bone of a flame salamander by blighted pyromancers living in the Great Swamp. Salamander. I remember there's an enemy like that in Dark Souls 2. Boost pyromancies. It is believed that salamanders are descendants of demons born of the chaos flame, from which pyromancy is also said to have originated. So as always, pyromancy linked with demons. That's been the case with all Dark Souls. And everything we have, I don't want to read everything at the moment, but everything we have relates to the Great Swamp, an area called the Great Swamp, which is a land we know of from Dark Souls 1 and where a lot of pyromancers originate. But let's read this, our ultimate weapon for the early game in this playthrough. Flame catalyst used by pyromancers. Equip a pyromancy flame to utilize pyromancy. Pyromancies must be attuned at the bonfire before use. And then it tells you about its weapon art, which is not really that good. But one unique thing about this item is it has weight. Its weight is 0, so it weighs nothing, literally. And from as far as I know, it's the only item like that you can equip that has 0 weight. So yeah, very, very convenient indeed. Let's just put it in our right hand so we can block and use it at the same time. Now let's take a look over here. And yes, as a pyromancer, you start with this spell, unique spell, Fireball, which actually makes a lot of the early game pretty easy because you can do safe moves from a distance. Always a good thing. Although in this game they're pretty fast, like they will get you, some of the enemies, especially these hollows. They are very fast. So let's get rid of them, backstab them. I don't want to waste focus points on them, so we can leave it for the tutorial boss. You can see Firelink Shrine from here. And actually, when you see the Abyss Watchers, when you see them get up in the introduction, you can actually make out this tree. You see this tree, a very unique one. And actually, trees are a big theme in this game. And you can actually see Firelink Shrine. So they got resurrected here or in the alternative Firelink Shrine, but it's most likely here. We see an item there. You can get. This is the only way you can get it. You have to jump. That Night Shard. This upgrades our weapons to +3 while falling, plunging attack. So this is it. We know this. Let's get rid of the enemies quickly. But yeah, when it says, you know, in the introduction, when it says the land of the Lord of Cinder, what it says, the Lord of Cinder's, you know, the transitory land of the Lord of Cinder converge. So every Lord of Cinder comes from a different dimension. When I mean dimension, think about it. If you ever play Dark Souls, think about it in a way like when you summon somebody from, you know, to help you out, or going from Firelink Shrine to the area in the game. So there is like different dimensions in this game, or worlds, and yes, these lands all came from different times, and now they're all converging because the fire is fading, and it's been happening so many times, but this time's to be the most serious. The more times you link the flame, the more times it just keeps getting weaker and weaker, and in this game we put this to rest. You know, we have different choices, and if you heard the preface of Vendrick, you know what we're gonna be doing. Because I think Vendrick, by the way, he basically is the last thing we hear about. Like, he's the, how can I say in English? You know, he's the one who prepares us for Dark Souls 3. There's a lot of hints in his dialogue that shows that what's the best way to win this war, basically, and it is the best ending in this game, which is usurpation of fire. So we see this huge tree with a very big coffin. So I assume here, I speculate that actually the giant that we see from the deduction, Yorm, actually got up from here, because this coffin is way bigger than any other one in this game. And there's a huge tree over there, and we see Iudex Gundyr, or at this point we don't know who he is, and we see this black thing. Now we're gonna be playing online sometimes, but when we play offline, I'm gonna be utilizing some tools like the free camera, so we can actually get good look on stuff that we cannot, see normally. So see this is this thing. Until this day, we don't have clear answer what this is. The deep, the abyss, what the hell is it doing here? Is it controlling him? I don't have really an answer, guys. But yeah, it's one of the mysteries, I guess. But yeah, we take a good look here. Now let's pull the sword and let's see it from here, so we can start the fight. Alright. Our first boss fight. We're gonna be cheesing him with our Pyromancy Flame. By the way, I haven't been playing Dark Souls for a long time. I elaborate more on that on next episode, and why I don't play Dark Souls 3 as much as the previous games of the franchise. There's I love this game, don't get me wrong, but I stopped playing it earlier, you can say. There are some reasons for that I will clarify later on. Shit, I might die. So I'm a bit rusty, although I played a bit. I tested this playthrough, so I guess that will help. You can see this makes the boss fight way easier. Just cast this from afar and play it safe. And he's actually weak to fire in this phase. And you can see this monstrous thing, just that black abyss deep motherfucker just grew this size, as big as him. And you can't actually make out the face clearly, and now he looks more monstrous, and his moveset's actually very unpredictable if you don't know the moveset. I love the music, I love the theme of Gundyr. GG, my friend. Coiled sword. Ember restored. So now we're kindled, I guess. That's when we ember form. Now we have more HP, and let's just appreciate the view. Pretty cool. All right, let's read the description on the coiled sword. Sword missing from the Sword missing from the shrine. What the hell? Sword missing from the shrine bonfire. Cannot be equipped as a weapon. Thrust into the shrine bonfire to restore its power and enable travel between bonfires. This sword is only bequeathed to Ashen Ones or Chosen Ash, as judged by the Iudex, who awaits the arrival of Ash as a scabbard. So this guy is basically our test. If you go through him, you can proceed. If you don't, you're just another failed Ashen One or unkindled Ashen One. And I guess a lot of people died here. You can see all these graves. I don't know if this is, you know, tied to that, but I imagine that we're one of the few that can pass this area, which makes us unique. We are indeed the chosen one. Of course, in my point of view, you're not chosen or anything. You're just another pawn in this game, but you actually have a huge impact in the end. Way bigger than the previous games, definitely. Beautiful area, Firelink Shrine. This is the area that we're going to be investigating today. And in the next episode, we'll proceed to actually the game. Killing these hollows, having some fun. You can see even more graves here, or coffins, sorry. So I wonder if there are unkindled who actually, you know, rise from this side and just skip Iudex. I don't think that's the case, but hey, you know, there's although the lore in this game, you know, sometimes is very detailed, but there are some things that are very illogical, you know. I'm not saying that this is illogical, but there are flaws in the game, definitely. It's not like a flawless story. Okay. Usually I just skip past those, but we want to kill everything. I think that is a must in a playthrough. You know, just running through everything and all that. I don't think we can appreciate the game as much. So we get the homeward bone. Actually, you want to take this one at this point, because we can actually trade this for some very good item in the beginning of the game. Going up this path, we see the entrance of Firelink Shrine. You have a left path and you have a right path. Let's take those before we go in. Let's hopefully not die, because there's a very, very annoying enemy here. Although very weak, but in terms of HP, but annoying nonetheless. Ember. So this is the equivalent of humanity, or what was it called in Dark Souls 2? Human effigy. So, but it's different. Let's read the description because it's pretty important. No unkindled can ever truly claim the embers that burn within a champion's bosom, which is precisely what makes their yearning for warmth so keen. Gain the strength of flame and increased max HP until death. With the strength of fire, the summoning signs of unkindled becomes visible, and seekers of embers can be summoned to join in cooperation. But beware, the embers may also attract invaders. It really functions very similarly to humanity from Dark Souls 1. But it's a different item lore-wise, definitely. It's not the same. Humanity is for hollows. We are unkindled, we're something different. Now this path, there's a very strong enemy that we can cheese if we just throw them off the map. But we'll come back to him later, although I usually deal with him now. But I think he serves part of a bigger story once we open the door. So let's keep him alive for now. And let's enter Firelink. Actually, there's one more path actually that we did not take. Let's just take that so we can take all the items. I think there's a shield over here somewhere on a tree. Am I wrong? I think we... Oh yeah, over here. East-west shield. Okay. Amba. Another one. Lothric Castle. Now, is this the same Lothric Castle that we go to later on? That's an open question too, and I think it's one of the biggest open questions in the game. And we'll talk about that later once we go to the alternative Firelink Shrine. I think there's one more item here. Yes, Homeward Bone. I think that's all for now here outside. Now let's go inside and see our basically home in this game, our base. And until this day, I really don't know why they went with this design choice. You know, like Bloodborne, like going from a central hub to the game. I actually prefer like Dark Souls 1, where you have the whole map. You know, it's a like one world. But I guess this also has lore implications. I guess that's why they did it too. So we see a bowl of dust over here on a Lord Vessel, or sorry, Lord Vessel. Oh man, I'm really mixing up with names. Remember, English is not my first language, so forgive me. But yeah, I think it's the Lord Vessel, the thing we were talking about later, and we can actually confirm this if you look here. which you cannot, by the way, look at normally like that. You need the free camera, but you can actually see it, and that's where we placed our sword. Actually, you can see the sword already there, but of course you won't see it. But yeah, let's go and put the sword. And actually, if we talk to her before we put the sword, she just tells you, put the coil sword on the bonfire. That's all. Let's talk to the firekeepers. And before we talk to the firekeeper, let me just tell you that every time Hidetaka Miyazaki was asked what is the story, or tell us, the summary of the Dark Souls universe, he always says the same thing. He says the story is about the firekeepers. So firekeepers basically are very important, although the information we have on them is very vague, especially in this game. In Dark Souls 1 we had way more information. And in the introduction, we can see this firekeeper. As soon as the bell tolls and we rise, she wears this thingy on her eyes that cover her eyes. So beforehand, before we came in, she was a normal human being, I guess waiting, just there. That's her duty. And then you can see the crown covered with dark. So basically when she wears this crowny thing, she only sees dark of abyss or something like that. We'll learn more about that once we get the eyes and items later on. So let's talk to the firekeeper.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I'm a firekeeper. I tend to the flame and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them. To this end, I am at thy side. Ashen One, to be unkindled is to be a vessel for souls. Sovereignless souls will become thy strength. I will show thee how. Ashen One, bring me souls plucked from their vessels. Farewell, Ashen One, made of...
Okay, she is our source of strength. When you get souls, you can channel them through her and become stronger. So a very important duty, and she's the one who keeps the flame alight. Now, as you can see also, she was standing here. She was expecting us definitely. As soon as the bell tolled, she knew that, and she wore that thing, she knew that unkindled Ashen One will come through at any time at this point. And he'll put the coiled sword. So she knew that the cycle is starting again, or sorry, this new thing is beginning, and she's there to help you out. And she does help you out in whatever way you want later on. And I wonder why she's so loyal to you. Like, who is she loyal to? That's one question I still don't know exactly the answer to. So I remember when I first came here and I saw, Andre, I was like, my jaw dropped. But at the same time, it's too much fan service. Like, what the hell are you doing here, bro? What the hell? And yeah, it's good. It's funny. I don't know. Until this day, there's no proper explanation why he's there. I guess he's another unkindled who lived all this time, and he still has humanity. And yeah, he's a tough guy, bro.
Pleasure to make thine acquaintance, Ashen One. I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells. I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler. And yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away. Ashen One, fetch souls and bring them to me. As is thy wont, no?
So a merchant, she also is kind of important from a lore perspective. Let's just take a better look at, let's just take a look at her. She has her eyes covered too, as well, for some reason.
Ashen One, bring me with. Is it not?
So we can get items for this lady, so she can sell us more stuff. And if an NPC dies, which is actually a good idea, that wasn't in the previous games. When you kill the NPC, you lost everything forever. I think in Dark Souls 2 you can revive them. I'm not sure, but But if NPC dies, you can actually get their ashes, and then she can sell whatever they were selling, which is pretty cool. Now there are a couple of things we want. Actually, okay, we have this already. We need 1 prism stone, costs 10 souls, nothing. You'll see why in a second. And what else? And a large leather shield. This one costs 800. We're not gonna be using it. You'll see why we got them. And she actually has a lot of, pretty good items. You can actually buy a weapon. I think the dagger will play an important role. Let's buy this in our playthrough. I think because it's actually unique when you put it in the second hand. And since we're gonna be infusing a lot and all that, we're gonna be using it. And actually, I'm thinking of infusing it with fire. That will be cool, really. So we can have it on our left hand like this, and have the pyromancy and the little. You can see how you're holding it in your left hand. It's unique. So I think it's the only dagger in the game that can do that. And then at any time we can two-hand it and then quick step. We can dodge out of the way. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. Although in my original playthrough it was another weapon. I think it was the claymore that I infused with fire. I don't want to be hasty. I'm gonna leave this decision to the next episode, and maybe you guys can give me, some ideas. I would always love to hear your ideas. This playthrough is gonna be a combination of me looking at your comments after every episode, and then doing some of the things you suggest. That would be cool. But at the same time, there are things that I planned already for it, because I'm gonna make this playthrough as unique as possible when it comes to spellcasting. We want to make it as and by the way, we have to get as much souls as we can. We have to maximize on that, so we can have so many spells and have them powerful and not wait till end game. I want to do it as early as possible, and I think it's possible. So let's talk to Andre,
a newcomer,
our blacksmith, our only blacksmith in the game, which is kind of disappointing. One of the things I loved is the different blacksmiths, but hey, it makes it simpler for everybody.
You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust. A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith. Such is my purpose.
You don't say.
Weapons and protection. But
Here he gives you, if you keep talking to him, he gives you hints about infusions and reinforcing weapons. And we can infuse right off the bat, but we got only a couple infusions that we can do. Fire is one of the get-go things you can do. That's why it's a pretty cool idea to get it early game. And we might infuse this with fire or the claymore. We'll see in next episode. There's not really much here. We'll come back to him in a second though. And there's one more NPC, or two more NPCs we want to talk to. So we have the Crestfallen Knight, I think he's called. In every single Dark Souls he's there. But this one is a bit different. I think he is the best out of all of them, because he has the most unique story, I guess. Because, he is the most unique out of them. So let's talk about him. Although he's a downer, man. He's very negative, but let's talk to him.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots.
So he's unkindled like us.
Don't you think?
Not very motivating though. But I like to think about, bringing the soul of Cinder to their thrones is basically getting their soul. Because to power fire, you need a lot of souls, powerful souls. And these Lord of Cinder represent that. And if each throne here represents one of the bosses that we're going to be fighting, and the Lords of Cinder themselves. So this is Yorm, the giant of the profane capital, and actually each of these thrones are unique. So each one has its own theme, like Yorm's one, for example, this is the Abyss Watcher's one. You can see the uniqueness is their swords. And then if you look at this one, the giant one that we just read, it looks like a chair for a giant. And then you have this one for Lothric, and it has this charcoal thing, which is also relevant to them. And then you have the only willing Lord of Cinder, who just did this voluntarily. He came to his throne voluntarily. Ludleth, the last NPC we're going to be talking to. Some people I know actually miss this guy, although he's just there. But yeah, I can understand why. And his story is very, very unique. And we'll talk about him more as we go through the game. And we'll be talking to him now. And this one, I believe, is for Aldridge. And you can see the shawl, the red one, represents religious ceremony. And also, if you notice in this game, From Software use of candles they use it liberally. Like there's a ton of candles, lit up candles. So somebody lit them up recently, it seems, the whole game. So fire is not an issue to have, your house burning down. So yeah, just a little, details here and there. And let's now talk to Ludleth. And I think his voice actor, I keep looking to the right because I think the camera is on the right, although the mic is on the right. Yeah, I think his voice actor is one of the best in this game. I really like his, he really adds to the mystery. Let's talk to Ludleth.
O thou unkindled, and a seeker of lords, I am Ludleth of Corland. Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder. If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my charred course. This sad cadaver, no need to be coy. Have a closer look.
He used a lot of fancy words, to be honest.
Knowest thou of our purpose?
And I love the use of Old English.
5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the fire. The fast fading flame must be linked to preserve this world. A reenactment of the first linking of the fire. So it is, I became a Lord of Cinder. I may be but small, but I will die a Colossus.
So that part where I say I may be small, but I will die a Colossus is actually not in the Japanese game. Thanks for a post that I saw back in the day, which shows the actual translation, and it translates to 1 second. Instead of saying I may be small but I will die a Colossus, he says even this pygmy here was honored to become a lord. So this guy is a pygmy. Remember, one of the pygmies, because in Dark Souls 1 we thought that there's only one pygmy, because that's what the introduction implied. But then we learn in the DLCs, which we will be playing in Dark Souls 3, there are a lot of pygmies. And he looks definitely like the pygmies that we meet in the DLCs. And now with the Japanese translation, he's just a pygmy. One of the first humans, I guess. And that's why they are short, I guess, and they have this funny look. Why he doesn't have legs, we'll investigate that. But I really like his character. And if you notice, all the characters also believe in linking the flame, and they all believe in it sincerely, although it is a myth, and as we learn through the game, that it's actually not the good choice. And it's like a religious thing that has been, given from generation to generation, that the truth of it was lost. And I think there's a lot of things in the real world that happen this way, so it's very interesting. And this game, Dark Souls, the whole franchise, the theme of it is creation. There's no doubt about that. The theme is the creation, whatever. It's very different, of course, from real life, but it does hit on some relevant facts. So, okay, let's go here. We see a tree of a giant, something that we only saw in Dark Souls 2. This will drop you a seed of giant every 2 invasions, I think. Or every invasion you get, there's a 50% chance. So every 2 invasions, you'll get 1 guaranteed. So sometimes from 1 invasion, and even NPC invasions, by the way, so computer invasions, you get 1. And this seed will turn, so when you get invaded, all the enemies are friends of the invader. So you're fighting the enemies and the invader at the same time. But when you use this, they can actually fight the invader, but for a temporary time, which this patch, I think they did it in the last patch, or sorry, the patch before that, when they did the Ring City. And it was very good, because back in the day, you just use it and all the enemies are against the invader, and that is not fair, to be honest. So there is a trick here, which I bet most of you know, that you can jump there and we can get some stuff that actually have a profound impact in the early game. But I'm so noob in this jump, so forgive me here if I take long. I hope I don't. I'm really bad with this. Really bad. Sometimes it takes me 10 times. Third time. Oh man, I didn't expect that to happen. But yeah, let's continue. So I don't know if this is intentional. I think it's intentional, you know, this jump, because it gives you some cool stuff in the early game. But before we go inside there, let's just continue this path. I think we can cheese this guy from here, like this. Yeah, we can, but that's boring. We won't be doing that. Oh yeah, by the way, that's the weapon art that I just used. Give you extra damage. Let me read it. I'm actually... Yeah, it gives you extra damage and an extra move set or move on your charge attacks. War cry, let out a spirited war cry that temporarily boosts attacks. It doesn't say that it changed the move set of the heavy attacks, but here it is. This is the heavy attack, which you cannot do before using the weapon art. It'll be different. Let me see if I change the weapon. Yep. So these are the actual R2s. Pretty cool R2s, to be honest. I love this, and but they're also shared by a lot of axes and other weapon types too, and small hammers, I think. Okay, so the purpose of coming here was to take the Twinkling Tetanite, and we're gonna be going to the DLC a bit early in this playthrough to take some items to become godlike early on. But yeah, this is one of the things that will help us. So if we didn't do this jump, we would have missed the Twinkling Tetanite here. But there's one more important thing, and that's the last thing we're gonna be doing in the episode. That's going to that place and getting all the other good stuff. And this is one of the reasons I love Dark Souls. You know, when I found this, you know, this hallway here, like your exploration feels like it paid off, really. So we find ourselves top of Firelink Shrine. Pretty cool. And then, of course, the classic crow, which, by the way, has been since Demon Souls. In Demon Souls, it was a tree, not a tree with a crow, I think. But in Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, you find this crow that you can give items, and it gives you exclusive stuff sometimes, which is cool. But yeah, sometimes like in Dark Souls 1, there's one spell that you can only get from the crow. So it's kind of unique. So let's put a firebomb. It'll give us, I think, Twinkling or Large at Night Shards. Large at Night Shard, that's pretty cool to have this at this point. Then the Prism Stone just costs us 10. I think this is a Twinkling Tetanite, pretty sure. Yes. And the last thing is the shield, the large leather shield. Now don't ask me why. The description has no indication that you should trade anything with anybody. And most shields in the game, if not all, cannot be traded with the crow. So I wonder why. I know that large leather shield is found across all the Dark Souls series, but I wonder if there's a reason. Please let us know. Like, I don't know why. It seems so random, to be honest. Twinkling Tetanite. So now we have what? 3 Twinkling Tetanite, and we still didn't begin the game. We still didn't go to Lothar. So that's cool. One last thing. We have a hidden wall over here, which will also give us a very good ring. A ring that increases our souls by 12%. You know, when you absorb souls, covetous. And this ring is also found in all of Dark Souls games. But I forgot the description on it. Let's read. A silver ring depicting a snake that could have been, but never was, a dragon. You know, the serpent snakes that we see in Dark Souls 1. Fallen foes yield more souls. Snakes are known as creatures of great avarice, devouring prey even larger than themselves by swallowing them whole. If one's shackles are cause for discontent, perhaps it is time for some old-fashioned greed. And greed is a big also theme in the Dark Souls games. Humans are greedy. There's no way around that. And that's why we represent the dark. Sometimes we are so self-centered, and we're so self-centered that we actually harm others to benefit ourselves. And this theme is prevalent in this game, definitely. So now we've got everything we need from Firelink Shrine. We talked with every NPC on offer. In the next playthrough, or sorry, the next video, we're going to be playing in Lotharic Castle. Now, Dark Souls 3 is a long game, and I still want to do them in short segments so I can do this frequently, but I would love all the feedback I can get from you guys. I want to improve this series. I want to make this playthrough as unique as possible and make it fun for all of us, I guess. So yeah, that's all for this video, my fellow Ashen ones, and I hope you enjoyed it. Give me feedback, and I'll see you on my next video. Farewell.